More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit, about 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with someone. We can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted. The professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and 2 policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole, a flag of truce. If those creatures know what it means, what anything means. Wait, there's something happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing in from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Good Lord, they're turning into flames.
Ah!
Now the whole field's caught fire. The woods, the barns, the gas tanks of automobiles, it's spreading everywhere. It's coming this way, about 20 yards, right to my... Boom. Then dead silence.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mills. Evidently, there is some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to the point of the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Eidenkoffer, speaking at the dinner of California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars were undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We now continue with our musical interlude. Once I get Next Gen to work, because it logged out during that whole aside. I hope everyone's okay. Thank you. Vlog it failed. Ramshackle War of the Worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came from Grover's Mills by telephone. In just a moment, at least 40 people, including 6 straight troopers, lie dead in the Field East village of Grover's Mill, their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe in Grover Mills are coming in. The strange creatures appear after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into the pit, and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined Fire Department of Mercer County are fighting the flames, which measure the entire countryside. We've been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit in Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return there in the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you... Just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located in the farmhouse near Grover's Mill. We've established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you the explanation of the calamity. The next voice you will hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by direct wire. Professor Pearson?
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information. Either as to their nature, their origin, or their purpose here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is in my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose. By means of polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carla Phillips has been identified in Trenton Hospital. Now, here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from the state police, Princeton Junction, as the fires of Grover's Mill in the vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit, but no sign of life appearing in the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Miss Harriet McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
It's Harrietta, thank you. We have received a request from the militia at Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facilities. In view of the gravity of the situation and believing that radio has a responsibility to serve in the public interest at all times, we're turning over our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
My apologies, Miss Harriet. We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover's Hill, New Jersey. Here's Captain.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to the state militia now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover's Mill. Situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their hockey uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. It looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank, and a quick thrust and it will be all over. Now wait a minute, I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of the Wilmouth farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal. Kind of shield-like affair rising out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher. Why, it's standing on legs. Actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are on it. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both observations of the science and evidence of our eyes leave the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of invading army on the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover's Mill has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever surfaced by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine and the invaders on Mars. 120 known survivors, the rest strewn over the battle area of Grover's Mill, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster and burned to cinders by a heat ray. The monster is now out of control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines down from Pennsylvania and Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn to service, and New York, Philadelphia discontinued except for routing some of its trains through Allenwood and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and Army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Philadelphia's Camden, Trenton, and it's estimated to twice their normal population. At this time, martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We take you now to Washington for a special broadcast of the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts our country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You've just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We are informed the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon the power lines and electrical equipment. Here in the special bulletin from Texas, cables have received from English, French, German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report the continued gas outbursts and regular intervals on the planet Mars. Majority voice opinion on the enemy will be reinforced in additional rocket machines. Attempts are made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared to have lost the recent battle. Langham Field, Virginia, scouting planes report the Martian machines visible above the treetops, moving north towards Somerville, and populations fleeing ahead of them to the countryside. However, they stopped to uproot power lines, bridges, railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here's a bulletin from the Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Hunters have stumbled across a second cylinder, similar to the first, embedded in a great swamp 20 miles from the south of Morristown. Army field piece proceeding from Newark, a blown-up second invading from the cylinder, can be opened for fighting machine rigged. They are tracking down the position, foothills, watching mountains. Another bulletin from Landgrab Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines. Now it's 3 in number, increasing in speed northward, kicking over horses and trees, and its evident haste to the conjunction of the Allies in the Morrison town. Machines also slightly by telephone operator east of Middlesex, within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here's a bulletin from Winston Field, Long Island's fleet, Army bombers carrying heavy explosives, flying north in pursuit of the enemy, scouting planes and guides. They keep speeding, enemy in sight. Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we run a special wires to the artillery line just adjacent to the village. We give you direct reports of the zone, advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery zone, second artillery field.
Army bombing plane V-843 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Watt commanding 8 bombers. Reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. This is Watt reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. Enemy tripod machines now inside, reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder, 6 altogether. 1 machine already crippled, believed hit by shell from Army gun in Watchung Mountains. Guns now appeal silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth. Of extreme density, nature unknown, no sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective is New York City. They're pushing down a high-tension power station. The machines are close together now, and we're ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. 1,000 yards, and we'll be over the first. 800, 600, 400, 200. There they go. The giant arm raised. Green flash. They're spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release bombs. Only one thing left. Drop on them, plane and all. We're diving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. 8.
I'm speaking from the roof of the broadcasting building, Lubbock, Texas. The bells you hear are ringing are to warn people to evacuate the city and the Martians' approach. Estimated to last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads of the North Hudson River Parkway. Still keep on the monitor traffic. Avoid bridges, Long Island. Hopelessly jammed. All communication Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here till the end. People are still holding classes below in the building. Now I look at the streets. All manner of cars overloaded with fleeing population. Streets are all jammed. Noise and crowds. The New Year's Eve city. Wait a minute. Enemy is now in sight. Five great machines. First one is crossing. I can see it from here. The bulletin's handed me. Martian cylinders are falling over the country. One outside Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seems to be time and space. Now the first machine reaches near. It starts watching, looking over the city, steel cowlish head, even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. They rise and line the towers of the city west. They're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke, drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running towards it. Thousands of them, dropping like rats. The smoke is spreading faster. It's reached downtown. People are trying to run away, but it's no use. They're falling from flies. The smoke's crossing University Avenue, Flint Avenue, 100 yards away, 50 feet.
Is there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone?
You are listening to KTXT presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury, done by the Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater. This is War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells performance from the Raider, 88.1 KTXT. So how did y'all enjoy